I'll be speaking and educating you on the dynamics of technology and ethical issues of today. There are three discoveries that began the beginning of computers. One was the abacus, which was a machine that helped the person using it calculate results that were done mentally. Leonardo da Vinci invented the first calculator, which was a mechanical calculator, and George Boole, who's very famous for Boolean algebra, which opened up fields in engineering, mathematics, and computing. Other inventors such as John Andrews, invented vacuum tubes, which vacuum tubes were used on the very first computers that was built, called the Colossus. John Anastoff and Clifford Berry created capacitors. Capacitors are components used to store energy in an electronic field. Those capacitors have enabled us to use computers such as laptops, your desktop computers, your readers, and other pieces of machinery like your cell phones and iPads and iPhones and things like that. Ethics is the study of right and wrong in human behavior. There are 6 different ethical theories within ethics. The first one is consequentialism, where human actions are judged, good or bad, right or wrong, depending on the result of the situation. Deontology, which does not concern itself with the consequence of the action, but rather with the will of the action. Human nature considers human beings and endowed with all facilities and capabilities to live in happiness. Relativism is negatively formulated, denying the existence of human moral norms. Hinduism, which pleasure is the only good thing in human life, the end of life being the highest. And the last is emotivism. It maintains the ethical statements and are neither true or false and cannot be proven. They are mainly considered statements about how someone feels. So now that I've spoke about some of the ethical theories, let's see how the history of technology and ethics combine with an ethical issue. Some of the most common frameworks of ethics have been discussed, being recognizing inherent and ethical conflict, understanding the problem, understanding how the problem will be implemented, and understanding and comprehending the impact of the decision that's made on other people. Given the 2 types of egoism, ethical egoism, how people ought to behave, and as they pursue their own interests, and psychological egoism, which describes how people actually behave. There was a professor named John Wesley. He was a scientist, actually, who started a venture in human cloning. He was a very successful scientist. He was wanting to prove that he can do human cloning. There's already been studies and they're already doing cloning on animals. So he decided to move his venture into human cloning. There was a lady by the name of Joanne Cacqua This was a woman with an average day woman. She was a school professor. She was a mother. She had one son. Her and her husband received some devastating news one day that her son was involved into an automobile accident. He was killed on impact. And after the funeral event, they decided to keep him in to keep his body the same way it was in a liquefaction, so that nothing would change. He would not deteriorate or anything like that. After his death, Ms. Kagwa did several research. She did much research, several studies on things that she could do to bring her son back to life, because she just loved him that much. She ran across Professor Wesley and his studies, and through the consent of her husband and herself, Mr. Wesley was able to use their son's body in the study of human cloning. The question is, are there any justifiable reasons to clone someone that you really love? And if they are successfully cloned, will that person be the same as the person that has just passed away? A loss to a loved one is already something that we as human beings take very hard. It is a very difficult time for everyone within the family. But is that really a justifiable reason to clone that person, bringing them back to life? Just the results of that person, seeing that person laying in that casket and bringing that person back to life afterwards could be beyond catastrophic for not just the parents, but you also have to consider the aunts, the uncles, the brothers, the sisters, the grandparents, the grandfather. You have to consider all these people because they are very well involved in that person's life. And to see that person walking around again could just devastate everybody after seeing him laying in that casket. To make such a decision, you have to think about the ethics involved into that. Is that really something? Is that something that is ethical to do? Are you just going off of just being an ethical egotist, going after your own actions, just pursuing your own interest on how you feel about the situation? And to clone that one, if he is successful, if Mr. Wesley is successful in cloning anyone's child or loved one, is that really satisfying? Does that really satisfy you to see that person again? There was a man by the name of Mr. Kirishro Matsura. He was a former Director and General of the UNESCO, which is the United Nations Education, Science, and Cultural Organization. He wrote a book on human cloning and ethical issues. He had several ethical concerns about human cloning. Some of those were the technical and medical safety, undermining the concept of reproduction and family, ambiguous relations of a cloned child with the progenitor, confusing personality, personal identity, and having physical deformities of cloning. He also stated promoting trends towards designer babies and human enhancement. All those were some of his ethical concerns. To answer those questions, if it is ethical to clone that loved one, or will that clone one be the same if it is successful? I would have to say no, because I do not believe in human cloning, and I believe human cloning is unethical. And the time, money, and the loved ones involved under those studies would not be a good result. And no, I don't believe if he was successful, if he or she is successfully cloned, that they would be the same. There's been too many studies of deformities just alone in animals. To make such a study possible, it would take hundreds of loved humans before one is successfully cloned. So because of this study, the question I leave you with is that enough for you if they are successfully cloned? And what do you think the percentage will be? And how many of those human clones will fall to deformity? Thank you for listening to me, and hope I was able to shed some light on technology and the ethics involved.